Welcome to Philly Coco Presents Side Project Spotlight, episode 85. It's the developer's journey into making cool stuff. I'm Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Cocoa Heads community focused on Apple development that primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey. Whew, all right. I have to always make sure I slow down a little bit just to make sure I not run out of breath. I feel like I'm trying to do it. I should try to think of myself as like the 1x version of myself versus like the 2x version that I listen to when I'm re-listening our podcast.
You listen at 2x? How do you even understand anything?
I don't half the time. I'm usually doing it as like, it's like a thing that's like noise pollution. What's the opposite of noise pollution? It's kind of like
Silence?
Okay, fair.
I don't know. Welcome noise? Attending an orchestra? I don't know.
It's like background noise. Yeah, that's a
Background noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when I get to like 1.5, it's already starts to be too
Yeah,
much.
like,
For
yeah,
things.
1.5. 1.5 sometimes is, usually I'm around 1.25 for things I
Some
actually want to pay
of the
attention
WWDC speakers talk really slowly though, so
Yeah,
I might be able to go to 1.75.
I feel like they
that's true.
do it to counteract the speed thing, so it's almost like this weird, like back and forth that the people are doing this at. Like it's like we know you're doing it this at 1.5
Just
to
keep
2x.
going slower and slower.
But anyway, that's not why anyone here is to listen to our theories about that. We're here to talk about our side project. And our side project, what is our side project again?
Well, it's codenamed BentoFit.
Okay. And
It
what does
is
BentoFit do?
It's a simple dashboard app for HealthKit metrics.
And I guess the way we've looked at it for anyone who hasn't listened to the prior podcasts is that in theory, we wanted to make a app that would present kind of like data that is easy to read, quick to read, and in sort of like a Bento UI format, which is like a bunch of squares and rectangles in a grid, in a small grid.
Yeah, or like widgets.
Yes, very much like widgets.
But we're actually trying to design it with some kind of aesthetic choices besides just the defaults.
Yes, something that I focus a lot of my time on to try to create a sort of a vibe. So that was so we're going to go into sort of like, I guess, our work in progress. I think last podcast, we were sort of in a funk because we had lives. And so we didn't get much work done, if actually much work at all, really. So this sprint, or this past 2 weeks, I think we've made some progress. It's kind of like getting back on the horse again. It's kind of like going up. What did we do again? And kind of start working from there. So I start trying to play with the UI a little bit. Steve reminded me, this doesn't quite work well in dark mode. So I sort of tried and make a dark mode version. And then I started exploring in Sketch. For anyone who doesn't know, Sketch is a kind of like saying it's like Figma is like.
Sketch predates Figma by a long time, which is funny that we have to refer to Sketch as in terms of Figma,
it's like
so
the
people understand.
Figma in the good old days. Yeah, so basically, I had built a lot of different UIs. It's a great way to but it's a great way to like.
Yeah, you're design prototyping.
Yeah, design, prototype, and layouts of your UI. It's very easy to do. It's a vector app.
Yeah.
You can even use it for icons, and even poster designs if you wanted to get that funky with it.
And who said you wanted to make it look like Tron? Was it you or me? Somebody. And then I started generating, using ChatGPT and Grok, I started generating Tron-like images of bento boxes for inspiration and sending them to you on Slack.
Yes, you did. And I said, and I looked at it and I was like, this is so horrible. I mean, it is a typical like AI schlop kind of.
It's AI slop of the highest order.
Of the highest order, right? It's like, it's one thing if like you did that in Midjourney and it came out that way. I'd be very disappointed in Midjourney. But since we're not using Midjourney because I don't know. The fact that you have to do everything in Discord feels weird to me.
Well, we're just trying to generate like ideas.
Yeah. But I think
It didn't work
weird.
out well.
It didn't.
We tried. It just nothing came out looking anything like an app screen. Everything was just some weird object.
So I think one of the things that I was going for, I don't know if can you see this?
We can. The listeners cannot.
So basically, the light mode version, and I'm still exploring this, but the light mode version was intended to be much closer to like, kind of like if you can imagine the Vision OS color schemes. Or not Vision OS, Vision Pro. So the hardware side of things, it's a little more. The intention is to figure out like a much more I wouldn't say skeuomorphic, but like skeuomorphic adjacent, almost closer to like neumorphic, or I think they have a new one called neomorphic or something like that, which is not that different from neumorphic. It's just less textured. So trying to add thin lines, kind of like gray background, but light gray, like very light gray with like a slight gradient, and even like little outlines for empty bento box slots. So when you start adding bento box items, so for example, when I say bento box items, I really mean like HealthKit data items. So like BPM, your heart rate, your calories burned per day, or your I don't know, help me out here, step count. Another thing about this app that we're trying to do is like it's supposed to be customizable to, at least for now, each of our individual health journey. So in my case, I'm a lazy mofo. I don't care too deeply about running and exercising and getting fit and being in shape, and probably my cholesterol rating is insanely high. I'm pretty sure of it, actually. So all I care about really is like how active I am in general. Step counts, maybe stand-up count, just some basic movement data. How long, how much distance I traveled for the day, etc. Eve, I think yours is much closer to like kind of like I don't know, like a relatively healthy adult.
Yeah, I'm working on moving towards a healthy adult, but I do like work out 4 to 5 times a week between cardio and weightlifting, and I do it consistently. And I try to watch on a meeting to a degree. So,
and you do it on average? Was it 3-4 times a day? 4 times a week? I'm sorry.
Yeah. 4 or 5 times a week. Okay. I alternate. So I do I try to do 3 cardios and 2 weightliftings, and then 2 days off on the weekends.
Nice. Okay, cool.
I mixed it up a little bit this week because of rain, but that's, basically it. And then I added metrics for like heart related metrics, or mostly what I'm interested in, like heart rate, resting heart rate, and weight. I added that in there, and steps are good. And I think I want to do some stuff with the workouts, but we have enough to start working on like dog fooding it, we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
And Aaron, I think you're last we talked, I think you're bumping up your activity.
Yeah, I just recently started swimming again after 5 years.
Nice. I like swimming. I should do that again. I was looking for a gym the other day, and the one I used to go to, it's very expensive. It's like $100 a month. I was like, it has a pool. Now it's a saltwater pool.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. I think it means it's just less chlorine.
Just means you're in the salt water.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like, is it like the ocean, or is it just like it's just less?
I never
chlorine. I don't know.
So,
but anyway, it's a lot of money. I'm like, it's like twice the amount of other gyms, so I don't know about that one. But I'm looking at maybe going to a gym too. I used to do the swimming thing. That was great. Low impact, good exercise.
Okay. And so, do you plan to add any more metrics for that specific activity?
Yeah. I need to get some trends on that. So I'm just kind of starting from nothing, but it'll be similar to the running stuff.
Yeah. Adding metrics, because we have a few of them, it's actually pretty straightforward to do it with an LLM tool. That's what I was doing.
I
can talk about it when we get there. I don't know where I'm trying to keep the order of events somewhat on task here.
Yeah,
I think we were primarily looking at the UI, but I guess you showed us the UI changes.
Yeah,
they look vaguely like Tron, or like between Tron and Vision Pro, so they'll fit in with the new iOS 19.
Maybe unless they completely change it.
That's a topic we should talk about, like towards when DC comes up, which by the way they just announced.
And John Prosser just released a video showing off what he says he saw of iOS 19 from an earlier build.
Okay,
so we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, next time
or later. But so I like the UI changes you're making. I think it adds some character to it.
Yeah, it's weird because they don't necessarily relate. It's kind of funny because when you told me, it messed up in dark mode, I was like, okay, let me check what's going on in dark mode. And then I was like, let me tweak the lighting to give it like a little bit of a glow. So like a Tron look, basically. Like make the borders glow a little bit. Not too crazy. The other thing that I added was like if you press the Bento items, they squish a little bit because they're buttons.
I didn't even try that.
I need to add haptics to that because but I want to do something where like if you tap on it, and then it squishes, but then when you open it up, you can configure it to a certain degree. So maybe there's a way we can say there's two versions of this. There's either like that's how we might be able to take care of the situation where you have the chart version of that, and then you have like just the dashboard version of that. So the chart version could be like the elongated rectangle version, just the numbered, whatever. All you care about is the number. Then it could just be the smaller square version.
Yeah.
And then Tron, I don't know why, but I thought like it's kind of like a nice contrast between like a very modern, whatever teenage engineering, if you know that group, if that that.
They make the cool looking like super expensive gizmos.
Right. They were responsible for the Playdate and oddly enough the Rabbit R1.
Yeah.
So
But
I guess you
made useful products. I think.
Yes. They're mostly known for their
expensive though.
Their music.
Yeah, the music
devices.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were hired for hardware AI slop. They made really nice. It was nice looking hardware.
I mean, I actually think, as weird as it sounds, I think there's something there in it. But I don't know. I need to like really like as not as a phone necessarily, but as like its own, like almost like a phone adjacent device of some kind. That would be cool.
Didn't they go out of business or something? And I don't even know. One of them went out of business. The one with the other. The
Rabbit R.
The Rabbit R1.
The Humane one did. I think Rabbit R1 is surprisingly.
Well, that was a lot cheaper. Around. Like that was a lot cheaper comparatively.
Well, the Rabbit R1 had like a really bad business model, right? Because they sold it for really cheap, right? So like $200 ish, right?
Yeah, but they didn't have an appropriate server backend to do anything useful with it, and it was really slow.
And they said that it was unlimited. They were using ChatGPT in the back, right?
Look, there's no unlimited with this stuff. I'll tell you about that. There's metrics for like the burn rate. See, the burn rate of your like tokens or your credits, however you denominate it, of trying to do anything useful with these tools is astronomical.
They would eat the cost.
Yeah, that's
right?
I mean that's what you can't do. Right. It's so not only are they burning capital that they don't have, right? But then the AI on the companies on the other end, at the model, the like OpenAI or whatever, they're also losing money on the queries, right? So I don't think anybody makes any money in that entire transaction. The only person benefiting is if you find utility from it, the user, the end user. It's like it's one of these tech bubbles where it's like so obviously a bubble, but because it has some moderate utility or more for some people that they don't see it as such or something. But I'm like, obviously most of these companies are not going to last. But that's a whole other tangent for another day.
Yes. Agreed. But actually, it is an interesting. It is a interesting tangent. One thing that before we go into that tangent for a second, but just to finish up, the thing that I was thinking about doing next was giving Aaron what he wanted, which was like dynamically moving.
Oh yeah, being able to move
rearranging
around. Wow.
the. I saw some code that I can utilize to like do that mechanically.
Try using cursor to do it. It'll be fun. Oh, experiment.
You know, I feel like
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I'm giving a little preview.
We're getting a little preview. You know what? Let's wrap it up here in that sense. But that's the next phase, as well as like figuring out once we figure out the model of like how we want to like store the configuration. I think that's when I want to actually do that work.
What about a theming? Do you need to build like some kind of theme manager to collect this stuff? Because I mean, you're doing light mode and dark mode.
Yeah.
But we might want to, we might want to have some kind of. I've never built one of those for Switch UI, but might want to have something.
Are you suggesting a design system?
Well, yeah, design system. But I mean, like, if you want to add multiple themes for it,
that's a good point.
Or if you just want to be able to more easily switch. I don't know how you would exactly how you do it. There's different techniques. You'd want to. I'm just saying, like, utilize all the design stuff so you don't have to tweak it everywhere.
So we could do something where we
create you're getting into some custom stuff, you know.
Well, this case is kind of funny because like all I'm really doing in this case,
there's not like that many values are changing.
Yeah, I know.
I think I should at the very least to start is to isolate the key values in the asset folder. Once there, we can discuss whether or not we create a new theme folder, or a new theme package. I'm sorry, that is just around the assets, because I am thinking about actually changing the system font to a custom font, and I am thinking about like some of these color schemes in the actual in the dark mode and the light mode are very bespoke and they're not system colors. So I might actually do some of that work, at least set the framework to be able to get that going. Yeah, so that might be something to explore. I don't know if this coming 2 weeks I would do that, but I will at least lay it out in a way that makes it easy to transfer if we wanted to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's not a big thing, but I put a card in for theme manager. If you want to do it
in our GitHub projects.
Yep, which I use. You guys never look at it apparently.
I do. I just look at it.
I looked at it to remind myself what I needed to do.
I move the cards around.
It's like, oh right, I need to make a chart.
There you go. That's all it is. It's just a list of stuff. That's like what these things are. Just fancy because it's in columns.
Am I allowed to merge this dark mode, by the way?
I can do whatever you want. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm doing it.
Do it
Screw the review.
I'm gonna see what happens when I try to merge my cursor generated stuff because I haven't merged that yet.
All right, my stuff is merged.
Oh man,
there we go.
Okay,
see how many conflicts there are with mine.
Yeah. There's no conflicts. I barely put anything in there.
So
it's go ahead. So Aaron, why don't you go with your progress and then discuss?
Oh, yeah. So yeah,
you made a chart.
Yeah, it's the world's ugliest chart, but
it's not. It's a beautiful blue line. I like it.
Yes, line go up.
Yeah,
I
think they're supposed to be labels, but I think they're like hidden in the light mode, dark mode, or the light mode background. So okay. I can't see them. Well, now that your changes merge, maybe I'll be able to see the labels.
Yeah, you definitely should. I'd be shocked if you didn't, because that was the whole point of that whole journey of getting into Tron mode.
Yeah. I was like looking at this last night, and I used my like function that I made to like pull up the weekly miles by week, and then like ran it a bunch of times, collected all the things asynchronously, and then put it into a chart. And then I got this thing that looked like a scribble, and I was like, what happened? And I was like, all right, it's out of order. So I had to put it back in order. But
Yep.
It took me a second to realize what I did.
And you were using SwiftChart. How are you enjoying SwiftChart?
I don't know. I'll see when I start applying some styling. They have a bunch of styling stuff that I haven't tried yet. So then I have like the most vanilla thing. And now I'm going to try to turn it into a smooth curve because I have like functions for that I haven't tried yet. So it looks more like your designs.
One of the things that I did, and keep in mind, like that's a very minimal design that's not complete, but the thing that cell now should be doing, or should allow for you to be able to do, is stretch the full grid. So it doesn't matter if it's in the square or if it's in the full row.
Yeah, I actually have to figure out how to fit that into one of the cards because I just like threw it in the grid
Yeah.
by itself without any styling,
Nice. Looks great.
just so I could see it.
Ship it.
Yeah.
Ship it.
Yeah.
We
So
should
that's
just ship it.
my update, and
Just ship.
have that much time to
Nice.
spend on it, but at least
That's
I
okay.
made a thing that
That's-
I could see.
Great. And now we can dog food it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I got scared for a second when the thing came back. Well, after I got it in order, then I saw like, oh, just like dropped to 0. I was like, oh, right, I didn't actually run any miles this week. My last run was on Sunday, and the week
Yeah.
starts on Monday.
I on Sunday night I ran walk, but the equivalent of like a 5K. I
Did you
think.
speed walk?
Well, it's like almost an hour. No, not speed walk. I had a professor in college who speed walked, and speed walking looks really goofy, but they move. They know they can move really fast
Yeah.
for walking. I mean, way
You know,
faster.
those Olympic walkers,
Is there an Olympic sport, speed walking?
race walking.
Race. Yeah, that's what it is. Race walking.
It's-
Race walking. That's what it is.
So,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
have
he was
to
a race
wonder,
walker. He was a cool professor. I liked him, but he was a race walker.
I don't know if you've seen that
And
that meme or joke where there's this one speed walker. She's like she's celebrating prematurely to get like right before she gets to the finish line, right?
Oh,
But then
no.
there's another person speed walking. Eventually, she like gets past her and then wins
Oh my
the
God.
race. And I kept thinking like, you could have just ran.
No,
is
because
that,
now
like,
if it was a
is-
speed walking, or if it was a race walk,
yeah,
you
if
can't run.
like if both feet come off the ground, then you get some kind of penalty or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
what's-
it's
I
its
see,
own
okay.
thing. It has its own
Yeah.
rules and techniques
Yeah.
and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause you-
Yeah. So I updated. I actually spent some hours on this week.
Yes, you did.
I have more metrics in there. Not everything on our list, but enough stuff now that we can. We have enough going on. With some weight in there and heart rate and some like data we could chart with. So I got like last 7 days worth of data out of it. Also did a bunch of refactoring with AI tools, and I should tell you about that after this. And then refactored some of the HealthKit integration again. I started adding some more proper modeling around that stuff, and also like I keep trying to get the authorization and the work better, and it's still janky, but it's better. Also added like a spinner on the main UI. Like I try to actually check for loading state on that thing a little bit better. It still needs work, but it's at least now it should theoretically not just be like just come up with zeros and then update. It'll be like spinner while it's loading and stuff like that.
Okay.
But so a bunch of stuff that we were trying to do last week I actually did. It's like barely functional enough to basically be able to dog food. Like it still needs a lot of work that it doesn't display the values properly, proper decimal places and that kind of thing. But it works. It works well enough I can look at it and it's like showing me my accurate information now. And I was like trying to figure out how to get pounds out of it, for weight, and like I did all that stuff. Did like the conversions, and there's different ways of going about it. And if you ask LLMs, they give you really terrible answers, and then it takes a while to find the right one. That's all I think of all this stuff.
So at what point do you bail on the LLMs? How much do you go, okay, it's maybe I'm just not asking the right question or I'm framing the question correctly, and do you just spend maybe, you know what, let me just do a quick Google search?
I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't do any Google searching. Oh no, wait, maybe I did a little bit. So here we go. We'll talk about that. We'll call this section like vibe coding with ChatGPT or something. So I tried 2 different tools to play around with stuff. First, I used ChatGPT, and I'm just using like free plans for this. I haven't paid for anything yet. But there's a macOS app from ChatGPT, and it has new Xcode integration. Jank is all hell because everything with Xcode integration is jank. But it allows you to bring it up, kind of like you can bring up Spotlight with a keyboard shortcut. And like I think it's like Command Space or something like that. Anyway, it comes up, and it's just a little chat window, and you can have it do stuff. But the difference is it can see what's in your Xcode window. Not exactly sure how much it can see. It seems to be like one file at a time. I'm sorry, but anyway, it can see like your file, and then you can hit apply, and it can like apply it to the file in Xcode. So it gives you a little bit faster workflow than going to a browser window and like copying, pasting things back and forth, and like adding context and copying the results out, that kind of thing. So that's nice, and I did that for some stuff, and it was helpful, but it was still kind of slow and tedious, and not really nothing like the vibe coding that has taken over a small part of the developer world and growing
I'm
every
sorry,
day.
did you just say vibe coding?
That's right. It's not like it wasn't vibe coding yet. Vibe coding is next. I tried a little bit of vibe-ish coding, we'll say. Vibe-ish coding.
Can you explain for
Can I? I mean,
for the older generation here?
It's like a raging nerd fight about this. Like, let's see, what do people think vibe coding means now? But essentially,
the LLMs
there's
think?
a Wikipedia entry already about vibe coding. It says it's an AI-dependent programming technique where a person describes a problem in a few sentences as a prompt. A large language model tuned for coding. The LLM generates software, shifting a programmer's role from manual coding to guiding, testing, refining. Okay, basically, you're just sitting there and you're not really writing code much. You're just kind of, if you go full vibe coding, you're just accepting everything that the LLM does. And when there's errors, you just keep telling it to try to fix it until it does. And you never actually put any thought into anything. That's full vibe coding. You're not going to do that for like real stuff. That's like, you can get decently far if you're just prototyping things, I guess. But I did like more vibe coding in the sense that I was using Cursor as my second tool I tried using. Cursor, if you've never used it, I mean, it's super popular. It's like a VS Code based editor that has deep integration with Claude, GPT, and I think its own models. And it has they keep changing up the UI a little bit every time I've tried it out. But the latest version, you basically have your files on your left. In the center, you have it's just like VS Code. You have like your files on the left. So you open up your Xcode directory in Cursor for this to work. And you open up in Xcode, you open up the project as well. So you need both of them open for this to work. Then, so you have your files open, and then in the middle, of course, is where your actual editor would be, just like in VS Code. And you can also open a terminal down there if you want. And then on the right-hand side is like the chat window. But you can kind of do agent mode or chat mode. And I was just kind of in auto mode where it mostly seemed to just do agent. But the idea is there's like a chat box over there. You can add in context if you want. Like you can add in files. You can add documentations, all kinds of stuff you can do in Cursor. It's kind of neat. I was mostly just having it look at my files and then asking it to do stuff. So I asked it, I signed up for Cursor and they give you a couple weeks of free of the pro plan. So you get a bunch of like credits or something for the kind of the agent mode basically. And so I was asking it to I told it look at the HealthKit stuff. And then I was like, first thing I did was I asked it, is there a better way of doing this? And then it just spat out a ton of changes. It just sat there it was like a couple minutes and just yeah, I could do this and this and this and this and this and this. It was very, very eager. It just made a dozen different changes, made all these files and stuff. And I ended up reverting it. But, and then I was like, okay, slow your roll there. Let's do this a little bit more, a little less vibe coding, a little more directed code generation. I was because that was too many changes at once. But it's kind of neat because then I'd ask it to do stuff I need to make a query to get the weight or something. It was it already had examples in there, so it just made them the same way. I was I said, how can I improve the error handling? Because I wanted to improve them anyway, and so it generated an updated. I can even show you on the screen share. It generated updated error models, and the way it kind of works is you just trying to get my screen up here. Oh my god! You just kind of talk back and forth. It gives you a bunch of I'll try to bring up Cursor maybe too, but. Here's some of the changes I made in Xcode, and you can't see this when you're listening. But I asked it to update the HealthKit error stuff, and so it created error messages for everything. And then I needed to make it equatable, which is painful thing to do for enums. And it just spat out all this code. I was like, okay, cool. Just generated painful. Generated all the error descriptions you'd want it to have in here for localized error. It just did that. So it was that was nice. And then it did a recovery. It did all that stuff for you. I didn't have to type all that stuff. That was a nice thing. And I asked it to start. It generated this model here, date range, because I was doing date ranges for stuff get last 7 days of weight and heart rate data. And then I was let's improve this. And so made it into a struct. And then it refactored things. So the thing about it's kind of more like an agent process where it instead of copying and pasting back and forth, it updates the files, including making new files, including updating other files that are connected to it. So what you do is you do the changes in Cursor, and then you go over to Xcode and see what broke. Definitely something will break. So you'll go over to Xcode, and one of the things that broke, for instance, was because I think we're doing Swift 6 or 5.9, I don't know, but we're using concurrency stuff, and so it would it would be doing stuff, and it would be like, here you go, this is going to work great, and it would tell you this, right? It's like, yeah, here you go, you're working now. Let me know if you have any more problems. It's very friendly. They made it spit out very friendly text. And you go back into Xcode, it's like, I'm sorry, what the hell is this? And the Swift compiler is like, this is not okay, this is not sendable, blah blah blah, random concurrency error things. But the best part is you just grab the error message from Xcode, and I just copy and pasted it back into the same window. I was basically using one context window for this. I paste the error, and then it's like, I see the problem, and then it goes and tries to fix it, and then sometimes it works, sometimes do it a couple more times. Sometimes you give up and do it yourself. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, I had the thing just kind of try to fix itself, and it it kind of works. I mean, if it's doing things that's you already have examples for, and it's not super complicated, and it's pretty much well established, it's not too bad at even with Swift stuff. Certainly better than other models I've been trying to using or other tools like I did. Yeah, so I think a lot of this is like it refactored. I had to refactor a lot of this stuff in here, the queries. I mean, I backed out some of the changes it made, but it made all these. It made changes. It added better logging messages in here, based upon the logger that I made. So it's like stuff like that. Pretty cool that works. So as I said, like moderately useful, vibe-ish coding session there. And then when there's like an error happening, you just can ask it to figure it out. And then sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So like I changed like how authorization was working. So I'm trying to make that more reliable. I got it somewhat more reliable. But the biggest thing I did, because I really wanted us to be able to go to the view and be able to have different previews. Like I have a preview here here's the loading state,
Mm-hmm.
and here's one with actual reasonable data. This took me only a few seconds. Well, okay. Most of the night took me a while to get this working because it kept having this it couldn't figure out what it kept doing wrong. Like the end of so it was easy enough to generate like this, which I'll probably have to move the model somewhere. But it generated this mock thing. I asked it to do this. I asked it to make like a static var mock that gives me a mock version of the health model we had, and it just was like, oh, okay, I'll give you. That's all I asked it to do. And then it was like, okay, I'll give you something that has reasonable data in it. And it just generated all this code.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, thank you, because I didn't want to have to do that. Like I didn't want to, this would have taken me like 10 minutes to write all this stuff down. So it did that. And then I was like, okay, I need one, and then it added the state stuff. I said, I want to be able to see when be able to put a spinner up and whatever. And so it generated this health data state enum. And this is where the problem came in. Because it looks like it's reasonable, right? And it is, except that it kept thinking it was going to work, but it doesn't work because SwiftUI observation and enums are a little tricky.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I could not get it to work unless I wrapped it in a local state variable. So I actually had to, and this is me doing this. It never figured out how to do this. I ended up eventually I got it to do an on change. Okay, so it did generate some of this. Basically, I eventually was like, okay, I did my own experimentation, hand-coded, Neanderthal, I guess, is what the kids would think. Like, they don't understand this. But back in the day of like a month ago, we used to write code by hand by typing in the actual characters and sometimes tabs.
It's handcrafted. Yeah. Okay.
Handcrafted. So I handcrafted some code here, and I was like, oh, you know what? It works if I handcraft a state variable. And I was like, it's because my instinct was it's some stupid observation thing. I was like, I vaguely remember there was something about enums, and I was like, okay, if I do that, I bet it'll work. And it did. So if you basically take the result from our model object, the little state enum, and I just assign it to a state variable, and there's a lot of words of state in here. But if you do that, then SwiftUI will properly update it. And I updated this view a little bit. This was mostly the AI tool adding this stuff in there. I think I had to fix it. I definitely had to fix a few things in here. It didn't work right. But, all I wanted to do is just check and see if the friggin' thing's loading. And so anyway, I got that to work so we can have different previews because we're working with HealthKit data, and it's like really annoying to test it if you have to actually run the whole thing and wait for it to get real data, and you have to have real data. I tried going into the simulator, and you can add data into the simulator manually through the health app. And I guess you could write some script or something to run and add it in more efficiently. Maybe you could use an LLM to do that. But I was like, nah, I don't like that. I want a preview. This is how I work normally. I have mocks that I put in the previews, and the way you do that with something you're grabbing from the environment is exactly what I did here. You make a mock version of it, you stick it in the environment in the preview, and there you go. And Bob's your uncle, or whatever the hell that phrase is. I don't even know what that means. But there you go. And so that's what I was doing, and it was an experience. Let me see if I can bring up Cursor so you can see what it looks like. And for those listening, you can just imagine that it's kind of a giant black window.
You do need a account. You need to sign up an account with it, right?
How much do these vibes cost you?
Oh yeah, right.
We got a free trial, right? Is it a free trial completely, or?
Let me see if my account's still here. My account's saying. So, okay, so here's what I mean. I used like 35 requests of premium models out of 150, and I think that's for like a month. I did this in one night. And I'm like, I don't know what this means, because it was like a lot of stuff was going on in Cursor. So, and again, I was left in auto mode. But you could see that like this is basically 2 weeks I have free of premium of the Pro, right? And that gives you access to, I think, to the premium models. It's a little confusing about what this means, because in the website they talk about fast response and slow response, and you get so many of both in the different plans. But I use up 35 of whatever this is, 35 out of 150 somethings related to premium models, and that was just me dicking around. If we go into go into Cursor, I'll show you how it works.
Is that strictly? So you've only used 35 in total, right? It's not even hitting the other model, which I think is like GPT something.
I don't know. I had it in agent mode, and I did not, and I picked the models auto select. And so you can pick, I probably should just try picking 3.5 Sonnet or 3.7 Sonnet or something. But in auto select mode, and I didn't ask it to do thinking, which probably would have burned even more, but I just had to do auto select in agent mode for the most part. And so it was picking the model that was appropriate at the time based on other factors. Occasionally it would crap out because Claude was busy. But here's like some of my chat messages. It was like, I need that task in there. There was one point it removed the task from our app view because I was doing something, and I was like, wait a second, I need that in there. So it's like, yes, you're right. We need to load the data when the view appears. Like, yeah, I know. That's exactly right. That's why it was there. So we need to handle it differently to avoid the race condition with the mock state, because it thought there was a race condition with the mock state. It's kind of right that there was. And so let's modify the task to only load data if it's not loading. This didn't work. None of this worked. Because ultimately it wasn't really about this. It was really about the state thing, I think. But then it'll add some, it'll give you a little preview with the changes, and it'll show up over here in the main window, and you have to like hit a button to approve it, and it'll give you a little explanation, by default. And then I was like, okay. Then it was like, here's what I did. I said at one point, in app view at Swift, if I create a state, blah blah blah, it works. I change the body, but then then the UI will update properly. But if I don't do that, it won't update. And then it's like, now I understand. Every time, it's always like, now I understand the issue. It's like you don't understand anything because you're an automation tool, not a thing that can think. But also, why do we have this?
Thinking?
I didn't even have thinking on.
You need thinking on.
It's like, now I understand the issue. It's like, no. I find this aspect of the training for these models, so they spit out text to mimic, somebody talking, and they do it in this like way that I find irritating. And so usually what I do is I put a prompt in or something tells it to shut up and stop talking. Essentially, I try to find a prompt that makes it stop talking so much, but I didn't do that this time. So anyway, it says this is a quote from the model. This is a key insight about how SwiftUI handles state updates with enums. And anyway, so then it goes ahead and it refactors more stuff. And again, it still doesn't work because, and then I was like, well, this, and then it says at the end, let me know if you're still having any issues. And I was like, okay, well, this doesn't work because the onChange modifier you added requires the state to be equatable. So then it added equatable. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I didn't need to do that. I was like, okay. But you can see how you very quickly like snowball into many, many changes. And so what you do is you just do this. You do a change here. You don't even have to accept it because what it's actually doing is it's actually changing the files, but which I thought it wasn't doing until you hit accept, but apparently it is. It's changing the files because then if I flip back to Xcode, it would show them, show the change, and then I would test it, and it would show me like compile errors or something, and then I'd go back. And you can also go back in time and go to checkpoints in your chat. So if you really F everything up, you can just go back and hit a button and just restore everything to where it was. That's what's nice about Cursor. It's very safe for the most part doing this in here. And so that was like the last thing I think I did was get this to work. And then I was in Xcode for a while trying to fix whatever bugs were left. And I got it working. So if we do a new, I know we're going a little late, but let's see if this is still working here. If we open up a new chat, it's like, what do we want to do? App Swift.
Don't you want to add some tests to this?
Well, actually, you can do that. I tried that briefly. It didn't work right because it wasn't generating the Swift tests. It was generating the old style, I think, and then I was trying to get it to work. Then it was working. Well, wait, no, that might have been ChatGPT. I didn't try it with Cursor. I tried it with ChatGPT, and it generated a test, but it assumed that there was a mock of something in there, and I was like, but there isn't one. And then I was trying to generate one, and it didn't work well, and I was like, I'm not going to do this right now. But let's try this as an example right here for you guys. We have the main app view up, and I have that as the context. That's it, and it's in agent auto mode, like I was doing. So let's make some kind of change. Like, what do we want to do?
I want to add a Bento item that fills both grid columns.
I want to add a Bento card.
Yeah. That fills the bottom row completely. I don't know how to describe it. The entire width of the grid. Yeah.
Let's see if that works. I said I want to add a Bento card, and that's the name of the view that fills the bottom row across the entire width view. What does it want to be though? What's actually the data in it? Use weekly run miles.
Yeah.
Let's see if this even works.
All right, it's going.
Okay, now it's generating a bunch of stuff. I'll help you modify it. It's doing a lot. It's looking at stuff. Okay, now it wants to add. Now it's okay. So it made some change. Now I need to check the Bento card view, make sure it supports the is full width property I just added. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know what you just did, but it's adding things.
Sorry.
See, but it's making changes to multiple files. You can see a little dots over here appearing.
God, what's going on?
Look at it's doing. Oh. And now it's like, okay, I made the necessary change. Apparently it added is full width property to Bento card view. Why? I don't know if we need that. But okay, modified the frame modifier. Okay, let's go back to Xcode and see how bad it broke.
Oh God.
If anything.
Does it build?
Yeah, it doesn't build. I hit the build. Let's see. It modified Bento card and app view, and it's building. Oh, it built. There you go. It didn't break the build this time. Let's see if any of the previews work. Well, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
All right, here we go. All right, so I think we made. Did we make any data for that?
So I don't. It's not showing. Oh, yeah, I don't know if
it's showing in the preview.
So is this the thing? Oh, is full width true? Okay, it's not showing in the preview, probably because the preview doesn't have that data. So let's go back and be like, oh, it's not showing the preview. Okay, so the app compiles and runs, but the Bento card is not showing in the preview. The mock may need to be updated. Let's see if that's enough to get it to understand what's going on. Let me check the preview code and the mock data. Okay. I see the issue, it says. I see the issue. The mock data is properly set up, but we need to update the preview to show the full width card. Oh, really? Is that what we need to do? Okay.
Don't say.
Okay, I have no idea if that's right. So this is like, if you don't even pay attention to it, you just hit accept, and then like, that's fine.
Oh my goodness. No, I will.
And now we have an error. No. And now we broke something.
Oh God.
Yes,
no.
incorrect. Yes.
Wait, it missed the parentheses?
I don't know, but this is basically how you do it, and you expect this to happen. So this is not like it's not like an error. on the case. It's just saying incorrect argument. Like, I don't know. What is this?
Is full width with action? What did we add?
I just put let's see how far down this rabbit hole we can go with destroying the code base. Okay. I see the issue. The preview, we're using the wrong parameter order for the Bento card initializer. Let me fix that. Okay. Did it fix it? Meanwhile, how much money am I burning instead of just doing it myself?
Yeah, let's check your stats.
Oh, it succeeded. It
succeeded. All right.
So let's see if we actually got that to work.
Fix the classic incorrect parameter order thing.
Yeah.
Not in the way that you would think you would do it.
Yeah. This is like.
You're right. Oh, geez, what happened? Is that?
Well, I mean, we got something.
I mean, it technically
Bento card.
Did they just change?
It added previews into the Bento card view. It added a preview so you can see what it looks like. And now here's the app view, but it doesn't show up here for whatever reason. But this might be something wrong with my mock. Like we don't have it added here.
Okay.
No, it says there should be a figure.run full width, but it's not working. I wonder why.
Maybe delete one of the rows.
Yeah,
delete one of the
too
items.
many cards.
Yeah, but so it still didn't help.
Not.
So it's like technically, so there's something else wrong. Like it works in Bento card here, but it doesn't work. So in the Bento card preview, the full width, appears, but in app view it does not. And I don't know why. Let me check app view. Again, the issue might be how we're handling the grid layout for full width. I've modified the grid layout to only wrap full width cards in a grid row. Let regular cards flow naturally in the grid without wrapping a grid view. Let's see if that broke anything. So this is a useful approach, I would say, if you are not fully familiar with all the APIs, as long as you read carefully what it's doing. Unlike what we're doing right now, we're just kind of vibing it. We're just like, whatever.
We're definitely vibing it.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's still not working. But this is basically what happened to me. Like, you'd get somewhere, and maybe it's because it's Swift, or maybe it's because I'm not very good at using it. The tool. It's probably not me. It's probably the tool. It's like it will do this. This is a great example of this. It will just be so confident, like this should fix the issue, and then it doesn't. And you do it again and again and again. Meanwhile, let's see how much I've spent. Let me refresh. Have we spent any more? Yes. Now we're up to 39 premium models. So we did four requests for premium models out of our 150 just in this little brief, hopefully not too boring for the listeners, little demo of using Cursor. But that's basically how it works. So I recommend you guys give it a shot because you get a 2-week free for the premium, and you can just kind of learn how to use Cursor and do a little vibe-ish coding here with it. And as you could tell, though, when you need to make changes, it is way faster. Like if the changes are appropriate, it's just a lot faster you typing the stuff, which is what I was trying to do. Like if you go over to Bento card, like what did it do here? It added like a bunch of preview garbage here, which is not how I would do it, but whatever. It made previews for the full width. Like this is nice. Did this. I don't know what else. Look at all this changes it made. Let's see I don't even know what the changes. It added full width initializer, I think. Updated the initializer, added a boolean, updated the preview. It's like, that's pretty cool. They did all that. And so you don't have to necessarily. But then when it doesn't work, when something breaks or something like this case, there's no compiling errors. It just doesn't seem to work and it's not clear why. Mm-hmm. That's when you have to actually go back to,
it basically missed I think it just missed the point of the whole thing of actually updating the grid, the way the grid works. From a thing that only displays one size of a thing to a thing that makes multiple size things.
I don't know if this was your thing, Kotaro, this hex code, or something it put in during one of my
that was me.
Okay, I was like, what?
But that actually will be changed because I'm going to make that to an asset.
Redesigning your UI for you with different colors. That's where you need to be.
This was Neanderthal coded. This is manual coded. This frame. It couldn't fix this. So at first it generated this little V stack here with a spinner progress view, but it wouldn't it would not show the background color correctly. Like it just had a little narrow thing here because it wasn't doing the spinner at the full width, and I just kept telling it to do that. It wouldn't do it. So I just did it. But anyway, So it's a pretty cool tool and technique, I guess. It's like having a I don't know, what is it? It's like having a loaded weapon or like a loaded tank using cursor. So if ChatGPT and the macOS app is kind of like having a small caliber handgun that pointed at your foot at all times, like you can shoot yourself in the foot with it and it will hurt like a mother, but you probably won't lose any toes, depending on where you hit. You'll probably be okay. But this is more like having like a tank pointed at your foot in some ways, where if it goes off, you're dead, your application is dead, your neighborhood is probably on fire. Like, so you have to be careful. But thankfully, the tool itself does let you go back out of it. And of course, you're using like a Git or something, so you can always back out of the changes. So I'm exaggerating here a bit, but it can very quickly spiral out. One of the things that I think is useful about what we're doing is our attempt to modularize things from the beginning, even though Xcode is excruciatingly bad at handling this. Even in the very latest version, I can't even go over how frustrated I was at work today. But because of doing that, it is a little easier to like isolate the changes. So if it's like all about HealthKit stuff, it's all in like the one place. So it's not necessarily going to go and modify things all over the place because we centralized it. And I just think that this technique is good. It's fine. I mean, I totally could see myself doing more of this kind of coding, especially when I'm exploring something or when I'm trying to like here, trying to do like a big refactor, because I don't have to go to each particular file. I can kind of let the tool find the things that I need or tell it ahead of time. It's probably these files you need to take care of, and then makes the changes for me. And that's what I want my tools to do. I want them to automate the tediousness. If you just ask it for like vague stuff, it's just going to give you garbage. Just like that's what, garbage in, garbage out, like any other program. But and I think it's held back by the fact that Swift and Swift UI is just not well represented in the training data compared to like, a lot of JavaScript stuff. So if you're doing like maybe a JavaScript or like a web-based native framework, if you're using like React Native, I bet this would work even better.
Yeah.
Because
phenomenally well.
And one of the things that it really helps with all these automation tools is like if your project's architecture is clear. So if it's something like Ruby on Rails or like a React app, I guess, or like if you have like a very systematized structure to things and there's like a well-known places where you add and remove things like that, I think helps these tools to then be able to refactor everything efficiently. With Swift UI, it's not quite like that. Like there are common things and common places and common architecture patterns, but as we know from previous podcast discussions about architecture, there's not like one unified pattern unless you're doing it explicitly. There isn't, and so I think it can get tripped up there too a bit. And it also sometimes would do older style instead of like observation or something. You'd have to tell it like, oh wait, I'm using the later version of stuff, and it looks like whatever model they were using on Auto, which is probably like one of the Claude models, it was up to date enough that you could do it for observation. I didn't notice it doing super outdated stuff.
I mean, it's particularly with HealthKit, there's not that much that's changed, I feel, with that API, aside from like adding new stats or data metrics to pull from. So, but yeah, all right, well,
yeah.
Now that you've explored the vibes, are you about to say something, Aaron? Or?
No, I was saying you don't need us anymore.
I don't need it anymore. I can just kind of like, yeah. Well, no, it's really bad at design. It's I didn't even try Swift charts with it.
I just thought of a cool design idea. You could probably try to see if Cursor would figure this out. Is bring in a tray from the bottom, and then pick your Bento item in this tray, and then drag it and drop it into the grid, and then have it and then orient it in the grid, and then release, and then get a little bloop.
Yeah, I think you have to drop in and out of like this agent style thing. I think you have to drop into really specific. Like in this editor, you can actually select code and do like inline edits on it, and just give it the context. Like just mess with this. Like I do that a lot at work with Copilot, because because that's what I'm allowed to use. So I have to copy and paste things. What I'll do is I'll like take a function or something and I'll be like, I'll put it in the context window. I'll be like, okay, do this specific change or make me a function that with this exact signature that gives me this input and output. And I'll give it all the context that it would need to know all the things it needs to access. And then it'll spit something out that's like 85% right, and I'll fix it, something like that. So you have to kind of go in and out to different levels. This is why I think that this is a useful technique if you understand the code. Like if you didn't understand anything about Swift or like, it's just making changes. You have no idea what anything is doing if you don't actually understand the code. So it's, I think, mostly valuable if you are expert already, like we are, or maybe if you're like a super beginner and you're working like on a brand new kind of prototypey thing, you're just trying to like feel your way to learning something, and you're like maybe looking at documentation, maybe you're working on a tutorial, and you're just changing things. Like this can make it faster to make some edits, but you can see it's really easy in agent mode just to kind of like get lazy and just kind of like, okay, accept, and then you're not really paying attention anymore.
So do you, once it's all going to be said and done and the trial is over, are you going to pay, what's the cost?
$20 a month for it? Yeah, they're all like $20 a month. And what's confusing is I think you pay Cursor $20 a month and you get access to these models in Cursor. But you can also pay for Claude separately and ChatGPT separately. And it's like, I'm not paying for them separately. So I don't know. I might actually, this is probably the most useful AI-ish tool I've used. Probably because the editor, this is what I wanted to be able to do. I wanted to change the files for me. I don't want to be copying pasting crap. So this is probably the most useful thing. I'll probably end up maybe spending a little bit of money if I continue to find it at all useful. I'll play around with it more in the last, like 2 weeks basically of trial for the Pro.
Okay.
So, and you guys should try it too, and then we'll see. But it doesn't really replace you or anything. It's, so you can tell it's like it can get slow. Like I mean,
it sounds extremely frustrating.
It can be. When it works, it's like magical. It's like, oh, it just made all these changes. And you look at the code and you're like, I wouldn't have done that, but okay. And then you can go and change it. You can ask it to change it. You could change it yourself. Like, it kind of depends on to what level of like degree of, how anal are you about it? Like, do you care? Like, do I care about what the code looks like for mocking the thing?
I care about if it works. If it changes a bunch of stuff and it still doesn't work.
Yes, exactly. That is definitely going to happen. It's going to change something. It's going to break, and then you're going to need to fix it. But often the fix is pretty simple. You just copy and paste the error message and it'll fix it, or you can do it yourself if you know it. The concurrency error stuff was really helpful because you know how annoying concurrency errors are, and they're like inscrutable sometimes. So you paste it in here, and it's like, oh, I figured it out. I just need to add this conformance here, blah, blah. Blah, a whole bunch of sendable code or whatever, a whole bunch of like you parse out a whole bunch of conformance code, you're like, thank you. I really didn't want to have to write that because I've written that exact code before, like conformance for whatever equatable on something. And it's like, oh my God, LH. I hit the like left and right. They're like, oh my God, it takes forever. So I was like, it just didn't take forever. It just took like 5 seconds. So after like a minute of thinking.
So
for next time, what are we doing?
Next time, I expect you to use all those tokens.
Yeah, it's going to be gone before my 2 week is up. I know it.
And so that I expect, at the very least, we'll explore some UI interactions. I do need to get a mechanic to add and remove the bento items. So that's on my to-dos for sure. So expect that to be worked on, if not done, by the next podcast. That's on me for me to work on. Aaron, anything for
maybe if that's done, then we can make configurable charts.
Yes. Oh, that's the one thing that I am kind of curious. Maybe I can either figure out a way to like flip the card or like make the card customizable.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to figure out how you interact with it.
One thing.
Go ahead.
One thing you can do with this, you can put an image in. You can be like, can you just make it look like this image? Like if you create a sufficiently detailed like image of a view that you want to implement it, we can just try to see if the tool can implement it faster than us typing it.
Yeah, maybe.
But
maybe,
I was
maybe.
actually going to say,
I'll send you one just to
test it. I'll test it. But did you want to do like some more elaborate UI design work? Like because there's a lot to flesh out.
Yeah. One thing I need to do for sure is to at least give like some kind of debugging-esque kind of view of like a list of all of the items, and we can turn it on or off.
That's actually probably a useful thing to do for using LM for.
And then the other thing I want to, that makes sense. And then the other thing I want to do is, I don't know if this is an us question mark, but like a way to know, like, and I might leave that for you or Aaron to work on, is like the data model for which these things are stored.
That's what I'm going to focus
basically.
on.
Yeah.
The data modeling. We need to like figure out, I think we need to decide how we're going to do caching.
Yeah.
One of the runs that I reverted, when it first regurgitated way too much code, and I was like, hold your roll there, buddy. It's like it's changing like dozens of files, and like it added so many lines of code. One of the things it did was, because here's how I did it. I asked it, can you make this better? I asked it, can you make the HealthKit integration better? And something like that. And it just was like, sure. And it just regurgitated so many changes. Oh, it was like, this is too much. But one of the things it did was it tried to add caching. It like one of the things it decided was reasonable to do, probably because this is a reasonable thing you always do, is some kind of caching. And there was like some HealthKit specific types that were in there that I'd never seen before. I was like, oh, okay. And then it was trying to do like some weird caching thing. And I was like, okay, we're not gonna adapt. It does lead me to think that we should probably decide on what we're gonna do with that. So I'll look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, so then I can kind of, once we get that working, I was thinking about exploring the idea of when you press on the card and then it opens up, like we can do like a zoom effect to open up another view, like a more detailed view of that card and some configurations for that card of like, okay, I want this as a weekly version, like a toggle to switch to weekly or something like that.
Do you want to like zoom transition, you mean?
Yes, I'll do that, zoom transition, because I like that. But basically, like, then the card will kind of expand based on the fact that you just want weekly, and the weekly will just be basically a chart, whatever chart we define. And maybe some other configurations. Obviously, I don't want to do too much configuration. It's just for what we need, right? And I assume you just need a line graph. I'm assuming. I don't know what else you want to do.
It doesn't really matter what it looks like, but
yeah. And then maybe we can figure out ways like dialing in and out of whether we want it like a full month, like 2 months or something like that. Maybe
that's what I was trying to figure out, like how customizable do we want this to be?
Yeah, that might actually be interesting to pull off in the dashboard, to be like, when you're touching and then you do a drag on that chart, the chart becomes like it'll dynamically change based on which way you drag. So if you're doing like, you can do per week or like per 2 months or
hey guys,
per year.
You smell that? It smells like scope creep. No, let's do it. No, it's fine. I just really wanted to.
How dare you?
One of us had to mention scope creep because we do have to be careful.
What are we doing? What's our deadline again? Was it May or?
According to our last time we updated this, our target date was in like 6 days. So no, like actually we wanted. Yeah, we wanted
like
to have like a test flight build by then. So we actually can. We have a test. We can do that. So I would say technically we're on track, but we need to like dial it in. Is what I'm saying. Dial it in.
Agreed. We need all those tokens.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just put our update in that we have a very basic MVP run on our devices or by a test flight.
Yes.
Much work to do to make it a full product.
Yes.
But I'm going to say, and our target date is we're going to change this because now we're going to go beyond this. So I guess we got to get this done before Dub because they're going to change the whole design of everything. So we're going to want. So there we go. I moved it to June.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
This is this is how this goes, man. I knew this was going to happen. But at least we're making progress. Like, this is the first time in a long time we've like made forward momentum. At least I have, on something other than work related. And I'm willing to try. That's why I was trying the AI tool stuff. You know, I was like, willing to do anything to help move it forward faster. It's like, because at this point, because I have so little time, we all have so little time. One of the things that these LLMs are actually good at is helping you avoid typing. That actually is a concern, the time typing for some of this now, because I have so little time. So if I have to spend like 10 minutes typing shit in order to create a mock or whatever, in order to get a preview to work, I have to spend half an hour doing that or 20 minutes. Like, that's a lot of time in one evening just to get a Swift preview to work. And there's like lots of stuff like that in Swift UI development that I encounter, which is just tedious stuff like tedious protocol conformance, which it's all automatable. It's just not built into Xcode very well or at all. And so that's the kind of thing that I mostly want to use this for, and refactoring things so you can like very quickly make changes. But so I'm willing to try anything. I'll let you know how my next adventure with Cursor goes. Maybe we'll make this like a vibe coding demo. If
How
people
long
don't hate
do you
it too
think it'll
much.
take to burn up all those tokens?
At this
More
rate,
than the rest
Maybe
of the
by
week.
tonight.
a week. Like, I mean,
Yeah, definitely within a
what I'm going
week.
to do next is I'm going to switch to like the chat mode and maybe a specific model and be very much more specific about it. More of the old. If you read Steve Yegi's latest thing, it's like the old style. It's like a chat based thing. But I think that because we know what we're doing, it's like if I know what I want to do more specifically, if I just change the mode from agent to like chat or just more inline, I could just make changes that way too, a more granular level, and maybe be faster. Because as I said, you saw the agent, it's cool and all, but it's kind of like it does too much sometimes, and then then you have to fix it or you have to back out, and it's like you can get to that line where you've wasted more time and money if you're spending money on it than if you just went in and thought through what you wanted to do and then you just asked it to make specific functions and stuff like that. But the chat mode in there, which I didn't show, is also useful if you just want to explore ideas because it won't automatically apply things. So you can just be like, I would like to design like a view that does this. What do you think about like you can just kind of do that and have it generate like ideas back and forth. Like I haven't tried that yet, but that was one thing that people like to use Cursor for exploration, that kind of thing. So I have down our list here, use up the Cursor tokens and domain modeling and think about caching your HealthKit data. Do that. You're going to do add and remove Bento items in UI and a zoom transition to detail screens. And you said settings too, I guess. Basic settings. We can configure, and then more charts, maybe even configurable.
Yes.
And I think that is a ton of stuff. And if we did that, we'd have like a pretty useful thing we could probably share with. Maybe we could share with other people. Maybe not quite yet, but almost. We'd almost be there.
Almost be there. Almost.
Yeah.
We'd
almost
want to definitely want to dog food it at that point.
More dog food. But I mean, we dog food it now. Like I have it on my phone. I can dog food it. It's a little jank, but with most of Apple's apps.
Once you can configure those cards, then like which cards are on the screen, it'll be useful.
Yeah.
To anyone.
Yeah, that's true. But all right, I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
And that's all we have for today. You can learn more about Philly Cocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you'll find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. If you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is, and share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. I'm going to give another shout out to stylebooks.app.com. This is a app that's developed by the, let me make sure I get this right, Left Brain, Right Brain LLC. It's a Jess and Bill. They have been making this app for a long time. They've just recently released this app. Let me just explain. The app is It's a iPhone, iPad app designed to help you carefully curate your wardrobe so you can look effortlessly chic every day. We want you to get the most of what you already have in your closet and to choose new pieces that will integrate well with your wardrobe. And apparently they've had up to version 10. It's one of the very few almost extinct genre of apps, a paid upfront app.
Yeah.
For $5.
I heard that and I was like, that's crazy. But it worked, yeah. You can't even get a footlong for $5, but you can get an entire app to help you look sharp.
You can barely get a Starbucks coffee for that cost.
Yeah, you can't even get a coffee for $5. Eggs? What are eggs now?
Yeah. Was it sync? You can sync with this version between your iPhone and your iPad. Also have your data stored in the cloud. If you ever delete an app by accident, improved import. There's new clothing improvements, UI improvements, dark mode support, new
like
style expert.
Thing, right?
Yeah, they have a Genmoji. They have a way so you can generate clothes. Don't necessarily have a place to photograph. You can kind of use that. And they have their own custom way to strip out the background.
Yeah.
And then basically crop your photo.
It
crop your
works really
your clothes without you doing much of anything. So that you can get a nice thumbnail, and then you can put your thumbnails of all your clothes, and then you can put your clothes together in sort of like a set. and then schedule them. So
yeah. So if you didn't listen to our previous episode, you put together outfits that basically they're in your closet based on the clothes you have, and then you can get all kinds of statistics about it. But mainly that's the thing, right? You put together outfits, and the outfits are literally like pictures of your clothes that you are laid together, so you can see them laid out next to each other, so you could understand the color combinations, I guess, and what they look like. Obviously, people like making them, like you make collages or something.
Yeah, they also have. Apparently, you have like a color. Did we say the color wheel thing? Or...
Yeah, they have like a color wheel. I could tell you like last time I was making fun of myself for just having all black clothes, and then my color wheel would just be black.
But it does have a color wheel breakdown.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there's all kinds of cool stuff in here. This actually, I got the Stylebook for Men version. I bought that one, and I am actually tempted just to categorize all of my clothes and put them in here. Like one time I did this with all of my paper books, and it was in that app called there was that library,
Delicious Monster.
Yeah, Delicious Monster. I did that, and that app is gone, so the database is gone now. But I did that once, and it was tedious and took forever, but was kind of awesome when I had it done. And this gives me that same vibe. Like I want to do that, but I'm also like I really have better things to do than that. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to get a new wardrobe. Hopefully, if my exercise routine continues to pay off, I'll have to get a new wardrobe. And when I do,
maybe
you put it in
for your sneakers.
Yeah, my sneakers. I'm gonna have to get in like a new suits, coats, and
Indeed.
all that kind of stuff.
So that is stylebookapp.com. Please give them a look. And with that, till next time, good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always.
And you go back into Xcode, it's like, I'm sorry, what the hell is this?